For me, fall is about 3 things: making soup, listening to Fall Out Boy, and reading sick and twisted books. Hi, hello, welcome to Chaos Central Books. My name is Claire, and today I'm recommending books for fall. As a matter of principle, I generally don't recommend books to people. I feel like I'm not good at it because I'm not a good reader. It's a skill issue, but luckily for people who are in the mood for fall book recommendations, I feel like fall reading is where I shine. Something about the vibes, the themes, something about it. I'm just better at reading in the fall, and I like more of the books I read during the fall. So I'm able to recommend some books to you. I've divided these into 6 categories, and hopefully somewhere along the way you find something that piques your interest and gets you excited about reading a book in the fall. The first category I have is relevant nonfiction. I know some people don't read nonfiction, but I firmly believe that everyone is capable of enjoying nonfiction writing. It just has to be good. So here are 2 good relevant nonfiction books that I think anybody is capable of enjoying. The first of which is One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This. If you read one nonfiction book this year, I think it should be this one. I think everyone should read this book, quite frankly, especially as long as atrocities are being committed and as long as people are denying that those atrocities are being committed, it will remain relevant. This book was also longlisted for the National Book Award for Nonfiction, so I'm not alone in singing its praises. Clearly it's doing a lot of good things. But if you're a nonfiction pro and you want something else, I would suggest There's Always This Year on Basketball and Ascension by hanif, abdurraqib. NBA season was right around the corner, and if you, like me, have had your NFL dreams crushed already during week 1, look to the NBA for hope and aspiration, because as hanif will remind us, there's always this year. This book isn't just about basketball though, so you don't need to worry if you don't care about the NBA, if you don't have a deep attachment to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Doesn't matter. This book is talking about so much more, as hanif always does, because he's a genius, but it's on grief, hope, connection, all the things. I do also have to mention that I got this book signed when I met hanif back in May, and it says great sweatshirt because I was wearing my Minnesota Timberwolves Fall Out Boy collab sweatshirt. We had a great conversation and I will remember it for the rest of my life. So love this man, love this book. That also happened the day after the Minnesota Timberwolves bounced the Lakers in 5 in the playoffs. What a great time. Moving on to the next category, which is weird graphic novels. I love a graphic novel. I feel like they're underrated. I think they're perfect if you want to read something quickly or if you're trying to catch up on a reading goal. They can do a lot for you. So I have 2 weird graphic novels that I think more people should be reading. The first of which is Upgrade Soul. I don't think I've seen anybody else talk about this online, but I really loved it. I think it's beautifully drawn, really vibrant colors, and a really haunting story about humanity, morality, all the things. It's definitely something that's stuck with me since I've read it as well. So I would love more people to read it too. The second graphic novel I would recommend is Acting Class. This isn't a book that is overtly horror or like thriller in genre, but it's so weird. The author does a really good job of creating a deep sense of unease, and it's so unsettling. The suspense emanating throughout the book just made me feel really unwell. And I don't know if other people felt that way, but like, it creeped me out. Perfect for fall vibes, I think. Next, we have books with an unsettling aura. These aren't books that are overtly horror or thriller by genre, but they're books that made me feel weird, creeped out, generally unsettled. Just as a general note, I would check trigger warnings beforehand if you're sensitive to certain topics, because these couple a range of troubling issues. The first book I would recommend is The Virgin Suicides. I'm not the first person to recommend this book for fall reading by any means, but I would just co-sign it. I mean, the title kind of says it all, so be wary of that. But I feel like this book is a classic for a reason. It's really well written, very unsettling, appropriate for the season. Dogs barking. I'm just gonna cut it. The next book I would recommend is The Girls by Emma Cline. I know Emma Cline is a bit of a divisive author. I've only read this book by her, but I enjoyed it. There is cult stuff going on in the background of this book, which is obviously troubling, but speaks specifically to me. But there's also a quiet eeriness that Emma Cline creates throughout this book that I really enjoyed. I feel like it's appropriate. The next book I would recommend is Lapvona by Ottessa moshfegh. Lapvona. I've actually never known how to pronounce it, and no one's ever told me, so I'm just gonna go with Lapvona. Anyway, I have a troubled history with Ottessa moshfegh. A few years ago, whenever lapvona was coming out, I read all of her books in 1 month, moshfegh May, and I didn't like any of them, to be honest. It didn't really work for me, and then I continued, because I'm not a quitter. I continued with my journey, and I read lapvona, and I thought it was the best one of her books, honestly, so whatever that says about me. Kind of concerning, I think. This book is gross, it's weird, and it's haunting. Not in the ways that, like, a ghost is haunting, but, like, some of those scenes are embedded in my brain now, for better or for worse. And to be clear, like, this is the grossest of Ottessa moshfegh's books, so if you're into that, go forth. If you're not, I would stay away from it, because it's really troubling, to be honest. This next book is less gross, thankfully, and that's Pew by Catherine Lacey. This is my favorite of Catherine Lacey's books that I've read of hers, and I feel like not enough people talk about this one. Again, there's like a quiet eeriness and an uncertainty, and I really like how Catherine Lacey plays with ambiguity in this book, and it just really worked for me. I would also recommend I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. I feel like this has become an internet darling recently, and I would co-sign that hype. It's short yet expansive. It really creates a believable atmosphere. It's dystopian speculative fiction, and it leaves you more questions with answers, so if that sounds like your kind of vibe, I would buy into the hype for this one. Lastly, in this category, we have Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I first read it in high school. I've read it several times since, and it never fails me, to be honest. I actually think I can relate Emily St. John Mandel books to Fall Out Boy albums. This is From Under the Cork Tree. It's a massive hit. It checks a lot of boxes for a lot of people. It speaks to me specifically, but still appeals to a mass audience. And it's got Sugar We're Going Down, you know? It's a hit for a reason. I would say The Glass Hotel is Infinity on High. It still checks a lot of boxes for a lot of people. It's still relevant, still important, but I think it speaks more to me than it does to the public. And then, of course, Sea of Tranquility is Folly Adieu. My favorite Fall Out Boy album, my favorite book. Just makes sense. And if none of that makes sense to you, just know that this is an apocalypse novel with a hint of cult stuff and Shakespeare, and you should read it. This book was ahead of its time, truly. I actually haven't watched the TV adaptation, even though my friend Hannah says it's like one of her favorite TV shows ever. I'm just afraid it's going to ruin what this experience is for me. The next category of books are autumnal vibes to me. And if that doesn't make sense, it's because it doesn't. Basically, I read these books during the fall, so I feel like other people should read these books during the fall. Sometimes when I'm reading a book, my memories of where I was mentally and physically while I was reading the book are tied into my memories of the book itself. And so I think people should read these books when I read them for peak vibes. The first book I would recommend is The Rabbit Hutch by Tess Gunty. Look at that beautiful shiny cover. This book is a National Book Award winner, so clearly it did something right with a lot of people, and it did something right with me. I remember reading this book. My library loan was massively overdue, and Cass and I went to a park on a beautiful fall day. We were surrounded by the beautiful fall foliage. We just had a wonderful time. Those are the vibes I feel like everyone should get to enjoy, so that's my recommendation. Not just the book, but reading this book in a park in the fall. Go forth. The next book I have is Family Meal by Bryan Washington. Look at that beautiful signed book sticker. Love that for me. I normally don't buy hardcovers, but I splurged on this because I love this book. This cover is so much better than the paperback cover, and it was signed, so like, what was I supposed to do? This actually isn't even my favorite Bryan Washington book, but this one is appropriate for the fall. I remember when this book came out, I picked up my hold at the library. It was a Friday because I picked it up after class. I came home, I sat on my couch, and I listened to the new Troye Sivan album. I feel like that was peak vibes. It just made my reading experience better. So that's what I'm prescribing to you. This book with the Troye Sivan album on your couch in the fall. I'm not just recommending books to people, I'm cultivating vibes here. Next up, The Trees by Percival Everett. Is anyone surprised by this? If you're watching this channel, if you're listening to me talk about books and you haven't read this yet, what are you doing? This is formative clear literature. I actually think I should read this book again to get like a booster shot of its brilliance. Basically, I read this during my first Booker attempt in 2022, which was during the fall. It's also important to me that you know that I got this signed back in March when I met Percival Everett, and this is my prized possession. Like, can you believe I met Percival Everett and he signed a book for me? That's pretty wild. I have two other recommendations from that year's Booker long list, the first of which is The Colony. I feel like this is a really underrated title from that long list, but it was one of my favorites for sure. I've seen very few people in my online circles talk about this, but I think it deserves a lot more hype. I thought it was eerie and haunting and had very relevant themes to the time, so I would love to see more people read this one. Finally, also from that crop of Booker long listed titles is Trust by Hernan Diaz. Can we just talk about Hernan Diaz's like writing stats? His first book, In the Distance, nominated for the Pulitzer, didn't win. Second book, Trust, did win. Crazy stats. This is among my favorites of that list, probably only second to The Trees. This book is so clever in the way it plays with form, in the way Hernan Diaz slowly reveals what's going on as the book progresses. It's just really a masterclass in writing in my eyes. Moving on to our next category, which is campus novels in academia. I love a campus novel. It's got to be one of my favorite niche genres. Maybe it's because I've been in school all my life. Maybe it's the former gifted kid in me who yearned for school. Maybe it's the current burnout former academic in me who misses the routine of school but nothing else about it. Whatever it is, something about being on a campus in a novel really speaks to me. This list was actually difficult to narrow down because I feel like some campus novels or some books that have themes of academia aren't actually fall, but these I feel like are fall appropriate novels. The first of these books I have to recommend is Sirens and Muses. I feel like this is a really underrated one in the campus novel genre. It takes place at an art school, which is a little bit different, but I thought it was really entertaining. It has a chaotic cast of characters. I thought it was just a good time. I would love to see more people read this one. I feel like I can't talk about campus novels without talking about this next one, and that is The Idiot by Elif Batuman. I don't know what I was going to say there. I know some people didn't like this book, but I think those people are wrong. I feel like Elif Batuman so expertly nails what it is to be a first-year college student in this. The yearning, the lack of belonging, the insecurities, all of it. It is true that nothing really happens in this book, but the insular nature of exploring our main character's thoughts is what is so expertly done. Nobody does self-discovery like the idiot, I think. It just nails it. Next, I would recommend Catalina. I feel like this one is similar to the idiot in a lot of ways. I feel like where it distinguishes itself is in the main character. Catalina is snappy and wry, but the book also has a lot of heavy subject matter that it's dealing with, but it never feels heavy-handed. It's a really expert balance. We're tackling a lot in this book, and I would love to see more people read this one as well. Next up, we have a bit of a different pick, and that's The Guest Lecture by Martin Riker. This one isn't overtly academic. It features a main character who's preparing to give a presentation on an economist, but academia is like an undercurrent of what's happening here. So some economic and philosophical principles are at play, but they're not necessarily the forefront. I think this book nails a lot of what campus novels do so well for me, which is the exploration of self-discovery. So I would put it into this camp with all of these other books. Next up, we have A Minor Chorus by Billy Ray Belcourt. Again, this is one that's kind of on the fringes of the academia genre, but I would put it into this camp. This features a main character who's stepping away from his dissertation to write a novel. So again, academia is lurking in the background, but it's not at the forefront. But really, this book just is so smart that it feels academic in nature. Not that it's difficult to read by any means. I mean, it is so short that I read it in a day. But when you're reading Billy Ray Belcourt's writing, you have to have your big brain hat on. He is just such an expert of the language. It just like makes you feel dumb in a way. Finally, again, I feel like I can't talk about campus novels and academia without bringing up The Secret History. I'm by no means the first person to recommend this book. I mean, it's a pioneer of the dark academia genre. If you've read this book, I feel like you don't need to read other dark academia books because this is like the holy grail. Like, this is the campus novel to end all campus novels. I just feel like I would lose credibility if I didn't bring this up when I'm recommending campus novels in academia, because who is doing it better than Donna Tartt? Nobody. Finally, we have actually spooky or horror adjacent books. I am by no means a horror expert. I feel like I'm constantly issuing disclaimers on this channel. Regardless, I'm not an expert on these. I dabble in the genre here and there, but these are books that are scary, creepy, and entertaining for my small pea brain. The first up is Mother Thing. This book was interesting, unsettling, entertaining, creepy, weird. Imagine being haunted by the ghost of your mother-in-law. It's so real, it's scary. Next up, I would recommend Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. Hear me out. I feel like this book is more categorized as sci-fi than horror, but to me, it's like a weird, creepy, eco-horror book. And nobody's doing it like Jeff Vandermeer. Like, nobody creates an atmosphere like that man. He's truly one of a kind in that regard. I've read the entire Southern Reach series, but Annihilation by far is my favorite of that whole world. Something about what he does in so few pages, the ambiguity and uncertainty he creates, is one of a kind. I would also recommend Brad. I know a lot of people didn't like this one, but something about it just really worked for me personally. It's a haunted house novel meets comedic grief story meets weird fragmented autofiction meets fever dream. So if any of that appeals to you, I would recommend it, but otherwise, I understand why some people didn't like it. It worked for me. I thought it was really clever in its delivery. It's weird and funny, but also creepy and unsettling and unserious. A lot going on, but it worked. Finally, I would recommend Monstrilio. I've never confidently pronounced that in my life, so again, sorry if I'm butchering this language. This book is probably my favorite horror-esque novel that I've ever read. It's a complicated and layered exploration of grief through a queer horror lens, and what else could you ask for, honestly? Who else is doing it like that? It's gross, it's scary, it's weird, but it's also heart-wrenching and very tender. Just the sheer range of emotions in these pages is impressive, and I feel like it's perfect for this time of year. Okay, we did it. Those are my recommendations. Hopefully some of these are new to you and get you excited about fall reading, get you in the spirit. I'm already there. I'm lighting fall candles, I'm drinking maple lattes, I'm decorating for Halloween. This is my time. But let me know if you have any thoughts on any of these books down below in the comments, and I will see you next time. Bye. I know I said I was done talking about football, and I promise this time I'm serious. I just need to give my week 1 update because I've never seen the Miami Dolphins perform that badly at full strength. It was embarrassing. They got shredded by Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones for those who are not as online as I am. Danny Dimes did so well, they're giving him a new nickname. He's now Indiana Jones. He's the savior of the state of Indiana, the guy who got bounced from the New York Giants for being so bad. That's who ruined our season in the first week. Embarrassing. 3 turnovers? 3? What's happening? Things are so bad. It's really dire. Fins are down. Fins are so down. I genuinely believe if they lose to the Patriots on Sunday, Mike McDaniel's getting fired. I feel like that will be the final straw. A team we've historically done really well against, especially with Tua as the starter. If they can't pull it together, I feel like we're headed to Tank City. Everybody's shipping out. Tyreek back to Kansas City. Who even cares? I don't want Tyreek on my team anymore. Honestly, I don't. So those are my thoughts. Check in on your local Dolphins fan and I'm ready for the NBA season. Bring back my Timberwolves, please.